Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to today's $0 versus $1,000 comparison. So for today's video, we have one of the most apt character for this showcase or this series itself is none other than Dionel. So I have a free-to-play account, as you guys can see over here, and I actually have unlocked the base level of Dionel as well as the base level of Barrel. So for Barrel's case, I'll probably save it for another video because I'm still trying to find like the best way to showcase this unit other than just showcasing arena side. But for Dionel's case, right, in today's video we're going to showcase his abilities in Dream Realm, a little bit of the PvE side at the lower tier as well as the arena side, both in the $0 category as well as the $1,000 category. So Dionel is a unit that is super late game centric, not only because he's pretty stats reliant, but also his strongest abilities lies in the later tiers itself. So right here there's this permanent attack speed increase, which makes him pierce through multiple targets faster, right? At the same time, this Celestial Spear is true damage on all enemies, and it's on top of his 3 intoxication buff, which is basically enhanced damage output, because later on as I run through the other abilities, you guys will see he wants to stack a lot of buffs on himself and then just deal massive damage from there. And on top of that, he also has this additional 20 execution, right? So this 20 execution is quite big. It's like 20% more damage against enemies on low HP. So this makes him a super powerful late game character. And there's other conditions which I'll talk about later in the $1,000 showcase, why this unit is a whale's toy, why this unit is better in the Paragon tier. So for the ultimate itself, right, Dawn's Light, this unit is going to fly into the air, right? For 6 seconds, he's gonna be untargetable and he's just gonna throw massive AoE damage at all the enemies on the floor, right? So he's not going to hit Skalita if Skalita is in the air, but any unit right now, I think most units are going to stay on the ground. So they're going to get hit by this skill if they're within the clumped up AoE. And if he's able to kill anyone during this skill duration, he will extend this skill by 2 seconds to 8 seconds per casting. So if Dionel's first ultimate doesn't kill off everyone, whatever unit is left, there's a very high chance they're not going to be able to kill him, right? That's where if he flies up for the second time, most of the time the battle is over. In fact, this unit in the late game, right, in the Supreme Plus tier and above, will be able to win the battle just off the very first ultimate. Later on we'll showcase in the arena itself, but for this skill itself, it's one of the strongest late game because first of all, your enemies cannot target him, so he's basically invulnerable for that 6 seconds and then up to 8 seconds if he's able to achieve a kill or assist. And at the same time, right now there's only 2 units that are gonna fly up into the air or disappear, maybe 3, right, considering Barrel as well. So there's only 3 units. There's another way to avoid his attack, and that is to hide in another dimension with Rainer's skill. So those are the few ways to dodge this skill, right? Those are the few ways to avoid getting hit. But at the same time, like when he's in the air and doing damage, you basically cannot do anything to him, right? So he's basically God during this skill duration, and if he can kill anyone, that's where he will start steamrolling. That's why he's super duper good. And for the second skill itself is basically Starry Void, which turns his normal attack into penetration attack, allowing him to hit multiple targets through his normal attack spear. So it's a spear that flies through the map. And on top of that, this ability also allows this unit to flash to a better attack positioning if he's not in a good spot. So it makes it good in the auto battle setting, basically finding the most optimal damage output spot for this unit when you're using him in the arena, Supreme Arena, or whatever game mode that's auto in the future. So that's for this Starry Void ability. And then we have Nectar Feast, which is one of the most important part of his kit because a lot of his abilities or most of his strength lies in this buff, as well as his EX weapon skill being in tandem with this skill. So Nectar Feast allows this unit to gain a stack of intoxication when he receives non-permanent stat boost from an ally. So an ally includes a unit with temporary buffs. It also includes an artifact with a temporary buff. That's why a lightning spell works, evocation spell works, smoky works, Damien works. Whatever unit that provides a buff for a fixed duration, for example 5 seconds to 6 seconds, is considered non-permanent boost. So if the buff coming from the character, for example like Freesto, states that this buff stays throughout the battle, then it's not a non-permanent buff, so this one will not trigger the intoxication stack. So this intoxication stack gives 15% attack and 15 attack speed per stack up to 3 stack, right, at the base level. So this is triggered once every ally. So you will need 3 different sources of buff in order to get 3 stacks to maximize the attack speed as well as the attack buff. And then for the active portion, he will drink Divine Nectar to increase his attack on his own as well as attack speed for 12 seconds. So at the max level, right, the intoxication stack can go up to 18% as well as 18 attack speed. So times 3, that's 54% attack and 54 attack speed. And he's going to get his own buff from his own active casting, which is additional 25% and 25 attack speed if you don't have any skill point on him. So the full buff coming out from Nectar Feast is about 70 plus to 80%. So that's a lot of damage. And if you consider the fact that he can attack multiple targets with Starry Void, as well as his ability to just fly to the air, become invuln, and just attack everyone, you guys can pretty much see his late game power. And on top of that, if you go into the EX weapon skill, just now I pointed out, this one works with the Nectar Feast ability. So when he has his intoxication fully stacked up, he's able to use his Celestial Spear to do 200% true damage to all enemies up to 3 casting per battle. So this is 200% true damage after all his intoxication buff. So he gets max buff, right? He's going to throw out this true damage. And on top of that, right, this also reduces target vitality at EX10. So this means that, let's say if your enemy is like a healer squad like Damien, Hewin in the team, you're gonna reduce the whole team's healing powers. You're gonna reduce the vitality, and then that's where if Dionel flies into the air with all these debuff active, the enemy cannot out heal the damage. They will just be blasted by his ultimate even if they have their healings active, because the vitality is reduced greatly. So this is the strength of this skill, and this skill, this extra damage, is no more than 1000%. So this is from the EX10. So do true damage equals to 20% of the target's current HP when first casting the skill in battle. So this is 20%, right? Not exceeding 1000% attack. So attack on this unit is really high. So it's most of the time gonna do massive damage and true damage, by the way. So that's why this unit is super duper powerful in the late game, with all sorts of stacking on him, with all sorts of buffing, as well as all sorts of stat buff that he can offer at the later tier itself. So that's why he's a late game beast. So without further ado, let's jump into the PvE side. I'm just going to showcase this unit at the lower tier. So if you want to build a Dionel team, you definitely need some sort of temporary buff. So for now, the seasonal artifact actually has this temporary buff kit, which is known as Evocation Spell. So this is temporary buff cycling throughout different skills over a long duration. So if you are trying to use Dionel and trying to make him work, Evocation Spell is probably one of the best seasonal artifact right now, because these buffs, they are temporary and there are 4 different ones, and it's casted after like fixed duration. So he will be able to cycle through the 3 buff more quickly. But at the same time, obviously, you can just put in units that complements with the buffing skill. So we're just gonna put in all these units together to just showcase his DPS abilities. So without further ado, let's start the battle. Okay, so I'll go at one time. So this is just a very simple showcase for Dionel's ability. So the blade at the back is basically the showcase for the Nectar Feast, as you guys can see. So 1 stack is 1 blade. So the maximum stack is 3 stacks, so that's 3 blade. So now the first stack of Evocation Spell has activated, so that gave him the second wing. And then I think he didn't get the Damien buff yet because he flew further away from Damien's card. But later on, the second stack of the Evocation buff comes in. So right here, I think he got the 3rd stack, right? Let's see whether or not there's more blades on his back. So that's one thing which I think can be very confusing for Dionel, because if he doesn't get the buff, he doesn't get that attack bonus. So you can only see the buff from the wings at his back. So now he has 3 buffs. So later on, we'll see the damage output. Obviously, we are at a stage where Smokey is gonna be like the more important carry, unfortunately. So that is how he works. This is how his kit works. Okay, oh, palm. Okay, so at one tier, obviously he's not gonna be like the main carry because he loses so much damage, and that's why I don't advise you to invest in him if you're only gonna keep him at the really low tier, or if you're not planning to even push him to Supreme Plus. He's easily the most keepable Celestial Hypogean unit. Yeah, because even Barrow has more use than him in PvE, because Barrow is usable in a zoo team, whereas Dionel's case, yes, you can use the wallet comp, but why use a wallet comp in PvE when you have so many better, cheaper options out there? So that's why I don't recommend. So right here, we are not clearing the stage because my Dionel's not dealing enough damage, but basically this is just a very simple showcase of his ability. So this is without the Celestial Spear. This is without all the stats, without all the massive boosts on him, and we're going to look at his number. So the blades behind him is really good, by the way. Just a little bit of I'll say story time. Dionel's Chinese name is called Jiusen because this unit is a drunken god. Like, he always sips wine when he descends, as you guys can see from his animation. That's why they call him Jiusen. So this is my Dionel. So this is the damage output, as you guys can see, pretty pathetic. So just a simple showcase of his ability, and let us move on to the Dream Realm side. So yes, we know that the damage is not going to be very good for him, but I'm just gonna do a damage comparison between a Dionel at the base tier as well as a Dionel at the Supreme Plus tier against the same boss. So obviously my level is going to be lower on this account, but let's see what's... I don't have Resto here, but I'm just going to use Torrent as a comparison. So this is Dionel. Where's my Dionel? Okay, so $0 Dionel here. I'll be using Evocation Spell, so I will still be able to get a 3 stack up, but I'm just going to put Smoky to get more buffs more easily, and I'm going to use a Smoky Cocoa buff for the team. So without further ado, let's start. Okay, so we'll just go at 3 times. So the goal is to just see the final damage numbers with all the max stack of him at the lower tier. So later on, I'll also do one run in arena, although I think I'll be destroyed by my enemies because at where I am, I think the tiers are pretty important. So this unit is probably not gonna do very well in the normal arena. Maybe I'm not gonna try it. Yeah, because like basically for Dionel's case, right, this unit is actually pretty frail as well. So not only are you losing damage at a lower tier, you're also losing survivability at a lower tier. So that's why he's not that good like at the low tier, not because you're just losing all the big PP damage numbers, but also because he just doesn't survive well enough to do anything. So this is Dionel, very, very weak. Okay, so that's the 1 tier comparison. Later on, I'm gonna go into the $1,000 side to showcase the Paragon side of things. So let's see whether or not I should risk my rank. Okay, maybe not. I probably won't risk my rank for this one because, okay, never mind, just in the name of science. Okay, so if I'm gonna pick a weaker opponent so to showcase this unit. So right now there's actually a few comms that will make Dionel work, but I'm just gonna stick with a budget divine comm which just buffs up his ability to do stuff. So I'm gonna put I'm gonna use him as the main carry, although it sounds like a really, really bad choice, but well, for my viewers, I guess. Okay, so this is a budget divine comm. So for this, I'm gonna use Iron. Okay, so this way we get 1 buff from Damien, we get 1 buff from Enlightening, as well as if our dear Skalita shields him, that will be 3 buffs already. And then for Iron's case, he's going to group everyone together so that his damage hits more people. But let's see how he performs at the lowest tier. Okay, at 1 copy. So we'll go at 1 time so that you guys can see what's happening. Okay, so you guys can see, right? That's 2 buffs. So when Damien activates the card, that's where the 3rd buff comes in, because you get the heal from Skalita's shield, right? So Skalita has defense buff because my Skalita is Supreme Plus. And then for Damien, the card is 100 haste, and then Enlightening is additional attack speed. So this is how the ultimate looks like. It looks like it's doing nothing because the damage is not more than the healing from my opponent, so I got destroyed. Even though he flew into the air, he feels so weak here. Oh my god. Oh my god, shit. I'm gonna lose a lot of points for this one, but okay, whatever, in the name of science, guys. Okay, so this is a Dionel showcase. You get Torrent trying to carry, but unfortunately, right, a low tier Dionel is just not gonna cut it. Okay, so now let's move on to the next account showcase. Let's go. Obviously, Dionel is not gonna be a Dream Realm character, but if there's this rare case where you are mega wheelie on all the Stellar Crystals, but your normal carry, for example, like Merrily or Corin, they're not maxed out, then you can also also try to use him, right? Later on, you guys will see. So that is just one case, but just take note, he's definitely not a Dream Realm character. I'll showcase his true power in the arena side. So without further ado, let's just run this battle. We are running a team of buffers to quickly max out his Nectar Feast buff. At the same time, we are running Evocation spell, which is considered a temporary buff. So for him, right, temporary buffs are buffs that stays for a short duration. So evocation spell is one of the best if you're fighting a long battle. You can also use Smoky, Coco, as well as Damien, the 100 haste at the start of battle, or even Hewin with the revitalization buff for additional haste also works as well. So one thing which I would like to point out for Dionel is, personally, I do think that he hits quite hard. If you manage to build all the you manage to fulfill all the different conditions to maximize his DPS, he still hits pretty hard, right? So this is the damage number. Okay, so now the exact same unit I'm gonna use Merrily, which is probably the best DPSer in that slot. So we are gonna do that. Okay, so let's just see the damage difference. So just now it was about 14 bill from Dionel's side. So the reason why Dionel is not really a good Dream Realm character is because in the earlier stages of the game, right, at least from the pre-season to the Song of Strife season itself, physical attack units, they haven't really had a chance to shine, because early game Dream Realm was dominated by OD because of that like damage stacking potential, as well as all the really good magical artifact buffs as well as unit buffs that this season has to offer for OD. Even in pre-season, physical attack has never been a thing, and that's the reason why for Dionel's case, right, being a physical attacker, despite having this true damage, that true damage is from the EX weapon skill, which is more for PvP side of things. So that's why in terms of the damage numbers, he just doesn't scale as well, because endless mode or the end game is true damage territory. So if you don't have your physical damage upgraded to true damage primarily, you are not gonna have a chance against the different bosses, at least in the end game side of things. In the earlier game, right, OD is basically the king of meta. As long as you protect him, as long as he stands there and shoots his normal attack, he's gonna be the hardest hitting one for the early game for most people. So that's why Dionel might find a place in the future, but right now it's just not really good for the Dream Realm side, even if you have him at a really high tier. So next we are going to move to the arena where this unit truly shines. So luckily for me on this accounts, and there's actually quite a few Dionel players that I've seen before, and the top 3, which is people that I can challenge, they actually have Dionel use as well. Let me just check whether or not I can find the Dionel player. So if you want to fully make your Dionel the main carry, then units like our dear Laika, right, is a good choice, because Laika together with Damien together with Lightning spell immediately gives Dionel the 3-stack buff of Nectar Feast. So this is where he will be able to activate Celestial Spear ASAP. This is a lot of damage, by the way. If you have it at EX15, it's skill damage 220% of true damage on all the enemies, right? At the same time, you can do it 3 times. So this skill is only available if you have your max stack of intoxication buff, which is this ability over here. Okay, so you need 3 stacks. So if you want to make Dionel the main carry, this is currently the most optimal. But in most divine comps, you have Skalita as well. So Skalita will be able to sort of shield. If let's say, okay, so the issue with using Talin is Talin doesn't actually provide any buff for Dionel, right? So what happened is you have 1 buff from the Enlightening side, you have 1 buff from Damien's side, and then if Skalita shield never falls on your Dionel, you won't get the 3rd buff. So there's a little bit of instability. So if you want to really just make your Dionel the main carry, then you should just include another buffer, temporary one, to maximize his ability. So the best one is actually Laika, as I showcased just now. Because Laika has this factional bonus for the team, and Laika's buff is actually really good on Dionel because it's an increase in attack speed. Right, attack speed is one thing which will actually make Dionel's damage output scale above the roof. So without further ado, let's showcase this team, right? So this is a more Dionel centric team. So as you guys can see, right, so we have Laika's buff, Okay, so now Damien's buff is activated. So right here, we are having these 3 blades behind him. So this 3-blade animation means you have 3 stacks of intoxication buff. So this is where your Dionel is now fully buffed up. And at the same time, he will be able to abuse the Celestial Spear skill, which is the EX weapon skill. So this is more Dionel centric. Okay, so to conclude this video, I'm gonna explain why this unit is like a endgame whale's toy. Because this unit actually gets this stat known as the rivalry stats. So this is for the Paragon tier, right? So Paragon 1, Paragon 2, Paragon 3, Paragon 4. So what's so good about this stats? Like every other units who are going up Paragon tiers are going to get it, right? So the reason why it's extremely good on Dionel is obviously his multi-target ability. For his normal attack can pierce through multiple targets. He has really high damage numbers from all the various buffs. He has true damage, and all his skills are basically AoE centric. So not only is he going to get a massive boost on the energy regen reduction part, because his attack is going to hit a lot of people. So if his attack hits everyone, all the units hit by him will get their energy regen reduced. So that is one way to make your team stronger, to slow down the energy regen of the enemy team. Another thing why this unit is insanely powerful is obviously from the damage boost. So right now it's only 6% at Paragon 1. At Paragon 2 it will increase further, so on and so forth. So as you guys can see, right, the value will double. I think eventually it will reach 30% or 30 by Paragon 4. So damage boost is big on him, because any damage boost on AoE attackers, especially Dionel, is insane. And if you combine the fact that his celestial skill is a true damage skill, this damage boost makes this unit insanely powerful in terms of damage dealing. Not only that, damage reduction allows this unit to survive better. So the moment this unit flies into the sky and uses ultimate, most of the time the battle is pretty much over. So if you guys are all the late game players, you guys would know that whichever side Dionel becomes more stacked up and then starts flying up and then killing people that is still on the ground, that's where you're gonna win, right? So that's the end game Dionel wallet meta. So that's why this unit is a whale's toy, because at Paragon 1 you get this amount of rivalry stats. As you upgrade it further, you get even more, and all this effect is gonna benefit Dionel greatly based on what he wants to do. So yep, that's pretty much it for today's $0 versus $1,000 comparison. Just a simple comparison between the base level of Dionel as well as the late game-ish Dionel per se. So this unit is going to be quite expensive. Is it advisable for free-to-play players to go for him? It is possible, right? I've seen people try to use him at a lower tier, but I sincerely think that this unit will probably truly scale better if you have him at a higher tier, right, compared to like Supreme Plus. With the difference between, I'll say, Paragon tier to Supreme Plus is also a massive boost for him, and then every subsequent Paragon tier increase is going to make him a lot stronger. So that's just how this unit works, and obviously this way it will favor the spenders more, and that's why he's a whale toy based on my own interpretation of the unit. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.